What's up, everyone? Let's take a look at how to make a self-checking activity inside Numbers. So I've got a Numbers page open up here. I've already made this self-checking activity. I'm going to kind of walk you through the steps of how I did this. I'm not going to go through every single aspect of it, but I'm going to show you the basics so you can create your own. So whenever you open up Numbers and you select just on a blank template, you've got a page that has a sheet on it. The very first thing I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to go in here and delete that. So I'm looking at a blank page. Now, let's make it look a little bit more stylized. And if you notice, this one has a gray background. So we can fix that right up here. For us, let's pick kind of this darker gray. Okay, now I've got some text here, and this is something that either I've made up, I took from a math book. I'm doing a math lesson here, but this could apply for social studies, science, anything. Numbers can still be useful for that. But let's say I've found a math problem. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to copy this text right here. And let's add in a shape as a background. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's add some color to it. Let's make it blue. And now I can paste my text in there. Let's duplicate our shape. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So now I've got just my questions in here, and I've got a little background shape. This is all just, for styling purposes, as long as I want it to look good. Okay. Now let's add in the self-checking part. So we can tell on question number 1, a tip blank the total bill. Okay. So what I'd like to have is a box right here that has a drop-down menu in it of some vocabulary words that I want the students to select from. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert a table, just a blank table here, and I'm going to make this a 1-by-1 table. Let me move it over here where you can see it. Okay, so now I'll just have this one block in my table here. Now I'm going to take off my title, and now I can put that blank box right in here, and I can resize it to kind of fit this shape. There we go. So what I'm going to do is go to Cell, and I'm going to change my data format to be a pop-up menu. And whenever I do that, it gives me some options here. I can type things in here. Let's do increases, decreases, and does not change. Okay, so I've got increases, decreases, does not change. Let's change the box color so that it's very obvious that this is a fill in the blank, red. Okay, and I'm going to put a border on it. Maybe not quite that much. There we go. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go to conditional highlighting, and I'm going to add a rule. And I'm going to select text is. And what this does is, if the text is equal to whatever I've put in this box, then I can tell it to do something to that box. For instance, if the text says increases, then I want this box to turn green. I'm going to select done, close out my format, and now here's what we've got. I'm going to move that just a little bit to make it look a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So now, whenever a student sees this, Jamie goes out for a night on the town. Okay, a tip. I go here. I've got this little arrow, and I can select increases. Aha, there we go. And if it's correct, it turns green. Now, if a student were to select decreases, it doesn't change color, so I know it's wrong. Now, I'd like that text to be centered in here because that looks a little weird. So I'm going to go here and select text, centered, and let's center it this way too. Maybe I need to shrink the size of that font. That looks a little bit better. There we go. So we can just kind of play around with that just to get it lined up. There we go. Now, I've got one self-checking box in here. And when I give this to student, it's going to start blank. And I might have to show a student, there's a little drop down box for your options here. So I've kind of got a multiple choice question. Now, remember what I said in the basics. Numbers is kind of always in template editor. And I don't want students dragging around this box. So this blue box. So I'm going to do a 2-finger click and lock that into place. I can do the same with the text. I'm going to lock it into place as well. Okay, I'm not going to lock this because if I lock that, students won't be able to interact with it. I now can't click in there and do anything. So I want to leave that box unlocked. Okay, so now once I've got one of them created, it's pretty easy to fill in these other blanks. So Jamie's total bill is, I'd like to have a little box here where they can type their number so they can calculate their answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this box using my Option key. So I'm going to hold Option while I drag that. It's duplicated it. And let's resize it to fit that space. Now, with this one, I go to Format. I go to Cell again. And this time I don't want a pop-up menu. Let's just make it a number. And I can do the same conditional formatting. I'm going to go to Show Highlighting Rule. And let's trash this one. I'm going to add a new rule. I want a number that is equal to the answer. And I want it to turn it green whenever it's correct. So that's all I have to do. Jamie's total bill. Now a student goes in here, types in their total, and if it's correct, it turns green. If they type anything else in, it stays red. Now, if you notice, I typed in 3370, and when I hit enter, that little 0 went away. I'd like to have that 0 there since I'm talking about money. So what I can do is go over here in my cell, and I can change my decimals to 2 spaces. And now if they type in 3370, it's going to leave it at those 2 spaces. So if they type in 3371, it turns green. I know they've got it correct. If they select the correct answer here, I know if they've got it correct. So really, as a teacher, I can just walk by, look at their work, and see if they're getting this correct immediately. So it's just self-checking, and the student knows if they've got it correct. Let's make another one down here. Okay, so whenever I share this with a student, I'm just going to make sure that all this is blank to begin with. There we go. And now I could share this with a student and they're ready to go. Now that's a real basic one. I just made 2 questions on there. Let me show you this other one here. So here, I've just taken a screenshot of a worksheet that I found online. I liked this question and it had all this blank space right here. So I just added in some shapes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy that and let's add in another shape. So I'm going to duplicate this one. There we go. Let's make sure I lock all these so students can't mess with them. We'll make this a little bigger. And there we go. So let's say we've got our screenshot or we've got our PDF or whatever you want to use. Let's change this background. We can do all kinds of stuff. We can add borders here. We can add shadows. So you can make all this stuff look as detailed as you want to get with it. Now, if you notice on this one, I added a few little images here. That's what's nice about numbers is it's not just spreadsheet. You can stylize it up any way you want to. Okay. And now I could add in my boxes here. There we go. So now a student knows that they can type their answer right in there. Okay, and I could put another one of those boxes here with the answer in it. I think you kind of see the point there, how it's working. Okay, now another thing I did here was I added a video. Here's how you can do that. It's very easy. So I've got a video on YouTube, tax tip and discount. I'm just going to copy that URL, go back to numbers, and go to media, and let's insert a web video. And when I do that, it puts the video right in here and it can be played inside of Numbers. This video goes with question number 2. So let's add in an arrow. Make that arrow a little bit thicker. There we go. Okay, so now I've got a little tutorial video that shows them how to answer that question. I've got self-checking problems on here, and I've now stylized it up with some images and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's a pretty cool way to make an interactive activity on Numbers.